Welcome back to the Time for Heroes podcast. This week I'm speaking to Chris Helme. Chris Helme came to prominence as the lead singer of the Seahorses, who, if you're not aware, were John Squire's band after the Stone Roses split. We spoke about how Chris came to be in the band, what it was like playing with a British guitar legend, and what happened once the band split. And then, of course, we picked his heroes for his dinner party. I hope you all enjoy. I would say that the sound quality isn't the best on this one, but bear with me. Right. So, thanks, man. Thank you very much, Chris, for coming on the show.
No worries.
If anybody doesn't know, this is Chris Helme. He used to be in the Seahorses, and since then you've been in a couple of bands, haven't you? The Yards.
I was in the Yards for about 7 years.
Yeah.
And I've just done my own stuff, really. It was never really a couple of bands. It was sort of, I did the Rookery, which was with a band, which was kind of pretty much the Yards, really, apart from a different drummer. But yeah, there's been different amalgamations. I mean, since I split up from the Seahorses, there's still a lot of people that I still play with, so I'm quite lucky in that respect, really. I'm not, apparently someone told me that I don't play well with others, but I haven't fallen out with anyone drastically. And if there was good reasons to fall out with someone, they've forgiven me, so then I think I've got away with it. So yeah,
right.
I play with loads of different people. It's been quite cool at the moment, the whole lockdown thing. Really, you can call it cool. That's probably the worst word you choose, but it's meant that a lot of people who generally strictly play with other people have been kind of branching out, playing with other people that they wouldn't usually play with. So it's been nice. I've been getting to kind of jam with quite a few people online and stuff.
Right.
It's been fun.
Right. Well, what I usually do with the podcast is we go back to the start. So, growing up, where did you grow up, and how did that take you into music?
Well, I grew up in a place called. This is good that I get a chance to do this actually, because if anyone needs to find anything out about anyone, the last place you should look is Wikipedia, because it's bullshit.
Yeah.
Everything's spelt wrong. Every other quotes are wrong. And honestly, it's an absolute nightmare to get any of it changed. So they reckon that I was born in Howden, which is bollocks. I was born in York in 1971, and I lived in a little village called Oswaldwick, which was just outside of York by about 2 miles. Not Oswaldkirk, as Wikipedia reckons. I lived there until I was about 16, and then it was a funny little place, like you sort of suburban kind of, sort of 3-bedroom semi-detached houses with front and back gardens. But it was actually, compared to some places I've been, it's been quite posh, really, I suppose. But didn't feel it at the time. It was running. I don't think it was actually. Just seems to be kind of a place where sort of builders would buy the first houses and then rear these kids that were just out as fuck, that just used to spend all their time chasing you around the village until they had the intelligence to get the fuck out of there and move somewhere else. So he was pretty feral. A lot of kind of field stuff after where the houses stopped. It was miles and miles of countryside, so there was a lot of kind of just larking around in fields and stuff, I remember.
Right.
Having crab apple fights and stuff like that with little thorns put in them, dipped in camel parts. Yeah, we were little shits, but we had a good time. I've got some good memories from there. But music was always something that you did at school, wasn't it? And then there's I remember my sister went to Sunday school, and I think they tried to get me to go. My mum was pretty cool about that sort sort of stuff. And she said, well, what do you want to go there for? Do you believe in God? And I was like, no. She was going, well, what do you want to go to Sunday school for that? And I was like, well, that's a good point. But my sister came back. She was singing all these songs. Quite like the sound of them. And I was dead young, like about 5 or something. And I started in primary school. And the headmaster, he sort of thought I had quite a good voice, weirdly. Obviously, my balls hadn't dropped or anything at that point when my voice broke. So he put me for the sort of supporting role in one of the plays. And I couldn't act to save my life. I can't even string a sentence together at the best of time. Never mind remembering lines, that you're supposed to learn. And I remember just making myself really ill because I didn't want to do it. Mm-hmm. But he was like, oh, you've got this voice, so I want you to do it. I got mumps, worried that much about it, I think. So I didn't do that one. And I think there's another one which I was ill for as well. But, so I just never seemed to do it. But I used to get really into music. He was mad. He'd put like a classical record on and I'd just be so obsessed with it. I don't know why. Something just really hit the spot. Yeah. I don't know. But I never thought I could do it. I know a lot of people. My mate used to play piano, but his dad worked on oil rigs, so he was kind of this lad. He was probably about 9 years old at the time. He's getting these piano lessons. And he had a piano in his house, and I play a little bit on it, but not much. So he'd go for these lessons, and he'd try and teach me what he'd learned. But I just used to like the sound of it. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And I asked my mum and dad lessons, but they couldn't afford it, so I sort of didn't do that. But got into things like rugby and boxing and stuff like that, which are very fucking alpha things to be doing. But I'm not that sort of guy, so that was a bit of a miserable experience doing that instead of music. And then
right. So
my sister, when my sister went to secondary school, she sort of started to become quite cool, and she got like the Jam. There was a bit of a mod revival towards the end of the 70s. I remember about 1977, 1978. And I think they started to do this mod revival in about 78. And then my sister was buying all their albums, and then she got into the Kinks, and she got into the Who and Small Faces. And other bands like Secret Affair and 9 Below Zero, which were like the new mod bands at the time. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of like the scene at the time in the late 70s. So that was the Bible.
So how much older was your sister?
Just 2 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because my sister was 12 years older than me. I was born in 1980. So, but my sister she got me into Style Council and all that. That's that's all the stuff she listened to, and then I grew up with that.
Yeah.
So I think
it was about the same time I got into, because I'd have been in 1979. I would have been 8 years old, and I remember when I went to secondary school. There's a girl down the end of the street called Lindsay Pye, and her brother used to have this scooters. He used to do up Lambrettas and Vespers and stuff, and he had a great collection of Northern Soul records, I remember. But everybody did at that time, so it was no big deal that people had these records. But I remember he had a mod Parker, but he cut out a square from a T-shirt which just had the Style Council and put it on the back. And I think he went away for a bit, so I ended up asked if I could borrow this jacket. And I remember, I think he was about sort of like 6 foot, and when I was about 11 or 12, I think I must have been about maybe 5'1". So this big mod Parker was like, the fishtails were dragging on the floor, and you could just see my little bowling shoes popping out the back with the sizing on the back. But everyone took the piss out of me because they were saying, "Oh, you're a plastic mod because you like the Style Council, you're not into the Jam." And I'm like, "What? What's the plastic mod?" I didn't realise until then that it was such a kind of snobby little kind of cultural cul-de-sac, which once you're in it, it's very difficult to kind of get out of it and it's what you actually want to be doing with your life. So I looked alright, Dick.
I think we all did at that age, didn't we? We're all looking for some sort of image to fit into.
Yeah, that's it. You wanted to be part of something, and I'd watched Quadrophenia about 10 billion times, so got completely the wrong end of the stick of it as a 9-year-old. I just thought Jimmy was a hero. I thought it was amazing. And then you watch it when you're in you think, Jesus, what an idiot. Oh, I'm such a dickhead. But it was an important film, I think, that film for me when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. It's just my sister has a lot to answer for, actually, which is maybe why I forgot her birthday yesterday. 52 days. Right. Yeah, I've got groveled. I've said my apologies, but she got me into after she was a mod, she got into Prince, and I swore down. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to get into Prince. I can't get into Prince." All my mob mates are going to rip the piss at me if I get into Prince, and I'm not doing it. And she was also going, "You only like music that I like," and I was desperate to fight it, but I couldn't help it. I just got into Prince. I just really loved Prince, and I think I got into Prince until I was probably about sort of 17 or 18, I think. Right. And all that all came about, didn't it? And then there's just so many different styles of music that I got into, but I couldn't play anything at this point. People who played guitar, who were in bands, like the bands at school, they were like all into like, oh God, like Spandau Ballet or Level 42 or some horrible mutation, which is kind of vomit-inducing thinking about it, really. But I remember thinking, well, I don't want to be in a band because that's the last thing you want to be doing. It's just so cool. These guys need to get girlfriends or something because there's something wrong with them. So there's bands like The Cure, which I thought were really cool, and all the sixth formers are into the Smiths and stuff. And I was just didn't even think about where these cool bands came from. I thought they were maybe grown in test tubes or something, like the Beatles or Small Faces and stuff. But so the prospect of becoming a musician and actually, doing it for a living, something that I'd never ever thought about until I probably joined the Seahorses. I think that was I just did it because it was better than working.
So when did you pick up a guitar? When did you realise then you could play? Did you teach yourself, or did you go to lessons? Or
I've said this story a million times, but it's true. There was a girl called Jeannie who I used to go out with. I went to college in Scarborough. I did graphic design in Scarborough, just to get away from Oswaldwick and the feral nature of my friends, who were all heading very quickly towards prison or death. So I ended up going to Scarborough, got away from it all, because I wasn't running around with a pack of other feral idiots. Mm-hmm. Just get into trouble on your own. There, you look after yourself, and no one else is going to sort of help you out. So it kind of taught me a few very quick lessons. And then after that, met this girl called Jeannie after a couple of years, and she was into Pink Floyd and Bob Marley and all that kind of stoner music. And I remember thinking she was really cool. And she ended up bidding me to go out with a guy who played guitar. And I was absolutely gutted. And I thought, fuck it, I'm going to learn how to play guitar. So I picked up a guitar with my mates, a guy called Paul Lampley, who very kindly lent me his American Stratocaster. He must have been mad. And I went back to York with it and played it for a bit, put it through my sister's stereo through the microphone input, and all this black smoke billow out the back of the amp. That was the end of a record player. I had no idea. I just thought, well, if it's got a plug in it and you can fit the lead in it, then it should work, right? I just kind of persevered. I didn't really know how to tune it. But by this point, I was 19, so I was about 19 years old when I started doing that. And then someone taught me how to tune the guitar properly, and then I kind of picked up a few tricks for some really patient friends of mine. But I think the thing is, if you really want to do something, then you learn. It's not like we had YouTube like that. You couldn't look up anything. You'd go to a music shop and it'd be like, 20 quid for a chord book or a DVD or a video actually back then. And there seems to be so many rules and stuff about this is the correct way to play, this sort of music. And like, but fuck off, that's not what it's all about. So I kind of didn't really grasp it until I started playing with other people, and they realised I was a dreadful guitarist. But they said I had probably the best band out of the lot, the best voice out of a lot of them. So I ended up being the singer in the end, and that kind of fell into that really. Right. We met Andy Parrish singing in a bath once when I was at a shared house, and he'd been kicked out of a band, and he was trying to start up his own band, and ended up joining a band with him.
Right.
So I was probably about 20. So it's quite about a year after I blew up my sister's amplifier.
Mm-hmm. So what sort of music were you playing with this band? And what was the name of them?
Well, the drummer was into Mitch Mitchell from the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
Right.
And the first guitarist, Nick Walk, well, actually, no, there was a guy called Simon Tilley who was into all sorts, really, like Led Zeppelin and stuff. And he started writing songs as well, and Andy did as well. And I did, because I found it easier to actually write songs and remember them than it was to learn other people's songs. Mm-hmm. I think we did something like Sympathy for the Devil, and I just couldn't believe how many verses it was to remember, and the gig was on like maybe 2 days' time, and I was there panicking about getting the words wrong. But the peers were so dreadful back then anyway, no one would have even noticed. So it was good fun, like. I kind of just fell into it, and then I was working as a graphic designer at Prince's at the time, and I hated it. And then I got into just started waiting on really, because you can make more money doing tips, and then to subsidise that, I kind of started busking a bit as well. Mm-hmm. And before I knew it, I had like 3-4 part-time jobs and was busking, and
right.
It was. I don't think I couldn't do it. Jesus, can't do it now. I went busking not so long ago, actually. I went back out again about maybe 2 years ago. And it was about -1. And I went and sat by the Minster just because I've not done it for ages. And I remember just thinking, this is really quiet. And got myself a little spot. And I did about half an hour and got 65 quid. And I thought, that's not bad. Yeah. Doing all right here. And then went and moved around the corner to another place, and I think I was there for 3 hours and made something like 8 quid.
Yeah, it just depends, doesn't it, the spot you're in?
And so yeah, that was the last time I went out, but it was nice to do it again. I used to love busking.
Yeah. My friend's got a spot, or my friend had a spot, and he's passed it down to another guy, and he's passed it down to another guy. It's went through 3 or 4 people over the years, and they're kind of.
Oh right, is that how they do it?
Yeah, it's right. The best spot.
I think York's one where you have to be one after every 2 hours. It's the kind of unwritten rule, but it works.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of buskers in town at the moment, and a lot of them are amazing. They're really good. They have to work hard for the money. They definitely are unique. Whether it be like virtuosos on guitar or these guys playing these kind of tubes for drums things, doing like techno music and stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot more diverse than it used to be.
Yeah. So am I right in thinking, did you go busking in France? Was this with the band?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the band Chutzpah I was in, or Chutzpah, however you want to pronounce it. And we, that was with Andy, the bass player, a guy called Jamie on guitar, Billy on drums, Chris Johnson on keyboards. It was me. I'm missing someone. Me, Jamie. I can't miss anyone on these Zoom things, otherwise I'm going to be skinned alive. Me, Jamie, Andy, Billy. There's Becky's girlfriend came along as well, and little Chris. Yeah, and we ended up just travelling up and down France. Really, ended up in Aix-en-Provence for quite a long time, I haven't been back there since, but I'd love to go back. We're sort of sleeping in by the churchyard for quite a long time as well. So
right.
every Sunday there used to be all these people that all be dressed up in the Sunday best, going to church, and we'd be camped up next to the stubble field next to the church, and thinking they were going to move us on, but they didn't. They were really cool. That was back in about 5, and how things have changed. You'd get arrested, wouldn't you, now, for being some sort of, I don't know, terrorist or something.
Yeah. So what was the idea behind this? Did you, or just was it like a kind of gap year, or you just kind of all decided to fuck off to France?
Gap year. Gap year.
So,
gap year. Don't you dare. I've got to uni. I didn't have a gap year. I finished at Scarborough Tech, and then I went straight into work, and I ended up. It was just something to do after Glastonbury, really.
right.
And then, as things go, we're all in a van for, I don't know how long it was. I think in my mind it was about 3 months, but it might not have been that long. And I ended up with the whole band just sort of disintegrated, as it would do. It was proper Lord of the Flies shit by the end of it. And, we were basically living hand to mouth and playing in the daytime and on a night time. And then just going buying food, drinking wine, and then doing that every day. But we never had any money. My mates, we even got back. We had this Vauxhall Fiat Ducato as well. That's we must have gone through about 8 different sets of tyres. And it was great. I remember more about that experience. I do. Traveling around with this horse. We were on, in nice tour buses, posh hotels and stuff like that with the Seahorses, and it becomes a thing, but we're sleeping on beach, anything can happen. There's a lot of memories from that. But I'll say that for the memoir, I have to get my story straight with the rest of them.
So how long after he came back to France did the Seahorses come along? Because you were that came for busking as well, didn't it? You were spotted busking.
Well, yeah, I moved to Brighton for a bit, and I lived there for a few months, not long, about 5 months. So I came back from France, spent about a week in York, and have moved from York to Brighton just for a change of scenery. And then we spent winter in Brighton, which is weird. Me and the girl I was seeing at the time. But whilst I was there, I wrote quite a lot of songs, actually, because obviously the whole French experience there was quite a lot of stuff in there I needed to sort out, and I wrote Moving On when I was there, and I wrote By the Sun when I was there. I wrote Dreamer when I was in Brighton. Yeah, and then I think after Christmas I came back to York and then started busking again, had a few more jobs, worked in a second-hand clothes shop, like a vintage place called Ragamuffin. And then weirdly, one week, I got offered, it was almost as like all my birthdays came at once. It was weird because John Martin was coming to York and he was playing a place called Fibbers, which is where I used to work before I went off to France. And Tim, the owner of Fibbers, he said, "Look, you like John Martin, why don't you come and support him?" And I was like, "Oh, there's no way, I'm not good enough, I can't do that, but my mate Dave can do it." So I remember giving that support slot away. And in the end, Dave didn't support him anyway because John Martin was off his base and just wanted to play for 3 hours, so no one got to support him anyway. And then this other band called Swagger that had seen me busking, and they were from Durham. And but by this point I was about 25,
right.
And they wanted me to sing this song called Teenage Hero, and then one of the lyrics was, they say I want to be a teenage hero, and I say don't want to be a teenage hero. It was all quite basic, and I'm thinking, well, this is shit. And to be fair, I'm 25, I'm not a teenager, and I haven't been on for ages, so this ain't gonna work. And then weirdly, I met John Squire walked past and asked me if, when I was busking another day, and asked me if I'd give him a tape to pass on to John. But by this point, Stuart Fletcher had already been picked up by John anyway, so we knew that John was kind of around York, and I knew that he was looking for a band. But Stuart had kind of said, "Why don't you put your name forward?" But I just never got my shit together quick enough, really. So he didn't go through Stuart. But this Dennis guy who walked past, sadly, not with us anymore, Dennis.
Right.
If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be sat here chatting to you about it all.
Yeah.
Sorry, mates, to keep sending me messages. So, he said, "Can you give us a tape?" And I was with the photo in it. And I remember thinking, I had to go to the train station to get like one of his passport photos taken. Because I was working in this vintage clothes shop, I looked like something from Starsky and Hutch. I had this big, fucking, big yappers and fur collars on this suede jacket I was wearing.
Right.
I looked like a right dick, and this is when kind of the ways sort of like come out with Roll With It and all that sort of stuff. So that look had been a few years. Yeah, so the whole kind of Britpop sort of Ben Sherman's and all that malarkey was in. Uh-huh. So I was wearing. I was always been really picky. He did like the look of me. At one point, he said he thought my neck was too fat. He was really hard to persuade. Some people were saying, "Look, you don't know what you're looking for." I think they'd auditioned quite a lot of people, or seen a lot of photos, and listened to a lot of demo tapes by the time I came along.
Right.
And I did a gig, and I was really drunk because I was nervous, and I snapped about 4 of my guitar strings, and went up to him afterwards and just murdered the shit out of him. I was like, "What did you think? What did you think, man?" And he was like, and then I'd go over 2 minutes later, go, "No, but what did you really think?" He must have been thinking, "I want you to fuck off, you're doing your head in." So I kind of forgot about it, didn't hear anything back. And I remember going, about 2 weeks later, I went away to Sleaford. My mate was living there, and he was having a house, his flat, he's moving out of a flat, that's right, he was having a party. And we stayed up all night. And then I forgot that I had a gig in York, so my mate drove back really quick, my mate Pete. And we got back to York. I'd already missed my support slot, but the other band had to go on first, and then I went on second, but I got through the door. It was only me playing, so it wasn't like I had a band or anything to worry about. Mm-hmm. Martin, his guitar tech, Simon Moran from SJM, and Steve Atherton, who was the tour manager for the Stone Roses, they were all fibbers waiting for me to turn up. And I thought, what the fuck are they doing? Wanting to see me. I was right shit at the last time I saw them. And then they were like, I played, and I didn't have any sleep. I wasn't bothered. I thought they weren't there to see me. So I think because of that, John just was like, came over and was like, "Oh, it was really good, a lot better than last time I saw you." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And then he was like, "Come and play Manchester at a place called the Roadhouse." And I remember supporting a band called Cheney, I think they were called. And they were really good. I think Steve Atherton was managing them. But they were quite sort of heavy electric guitars, and my mum there with this acoustic guitar just singing this stuff. They seemed to like it. I remember Sean Ryder's dad was doing the sound that night.
Right.
First sort of person really that I've met after John. So it's Sean Ryder's dad. Yeah. It was weird, and John came and took me into his car afterwards, and he had this big Land Rover that was probably worth more than my first house, and he put this tape on about his songs that were kind of like a bit like a jigsaw-y sort of crazy pagan ideas that were sort of kind of together. Uh-huh. More together than he'd probably give himself credit for. And I was just kind of like, you could hear the stuff you could work with there, and so after that I went to Lancaster and spent about a week around at his house going through the songs, and all the time thinking, how the fuck did I get here? because it all happened really quick.
Yeah, like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
So, what, like,
Sorry, go on.
see when he's kind of recruited you for the band, and you've got Fletcher, haven't you, and the drummer as well. So,
Well, we didn't have a drummer for a long time.
right.
When me and John had kind of spent a week with me, I think he was really still unsure that I was the one. And then we all decided to go to the Lake District, and sort of, it was great actually. We spent quite a long time there, and it was like being a kid in the sweet shop, really. Simon Moran put some money up so we could buy ourselves the guitars that we always wanted, and amplifiers and things, and PA system that you could actually hear yourself through, and we're there in these lovely kind of big old country houses in the middle of the Lake District with no one around for miles, just playing through these songs, and we were very productive. I remember nobody wanted to cock it up, especially John. John was very industrious. I remember we used to go and play with him for a bit, then he'd slope off, and he's pretty hard at it. Probably about 12 hours a day he'd be there kind of working stuff out.
It must have been a kind of a weight on his shoulders, though, knowing that he was, when he was coming back, there was going to be pressure on him to be the Stone Roses guy that he was, you know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, we were naively, we thought that everybody would see it as a completely different thing from the Stone Roses, because it was. But people's imaginations sometimes, the press won't let people's imaginations stretch that far, and so he had a lot of a burden on his shoulders, really. And I think he tried to sort of he didn't court that kind of thing. He didn't want it to sound like the Stone Roses. He just wanted to, he'd written some songs and he wanted to do what was right for those songs.
Yeah.
And there was elements of, there's a lot of different influences. I think he's listened to a lot of the Beach Boys, I remember, at the time, and a lot of Joni Mitchell lately, and Spencer Davis Blues Explosion. Yeah, it was. I just remember just thinking, right, well, he gave me a 4-track, like the most basic 4-track you can get, machine to record on, so I could put all my ideas down for my songs, but also work out harmonies and bits of guitar parts for his songs. And I wasn't very good on guitar, like I said, so I was like, well, I can sing those, so I ended up singing these harmonies, and he really liked a lot of them, and that's why it took so long for us to get a drummer, because he obviously thought that all drummers could sing, right? Because Rennie could, so everyone else should be able to sing. And there's not many singing drummers around, especially really good ones, And I think at that point, even then, he probably didn't even realise that Rennie's a one-off. You just don't get anyone who can sing and play as well as him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was torturous, having to, these poor drummers that would be coming, and they were fucking amazing drummers. But, some of them couldn't sing a note at all. Some of them had never sang but tried to, but then the drumming all turned to shit when they were trying to sing and play at the same time. And I remember trying to think, this is a nightmare. We got a guy called Mark McNeil who came to play, and he was great, actually. But he had a few personal issues, bless him, so he didn't work out with Mark, which is a shame because he was a brilliant drummer. And then we got Andy Watson, because he was the only other singing drummer that we knew, really. So he came to London. He'd been working as like a courier, I think, and a graphic designer. And he came along, and he was quite reticent to even join us, Andy, because it's very much his nature. He doesn't like to be told what to do. So it was good fun, though. Because we all realised that we were thinking, well, this is all right, isn't it? We're at Lake District. The fridge is full. We've got like bacon sandwiches in the morning if we want. Because I was just used to living hand to mouth, really. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting from eating too much dead pig, and John had to pull me up about or twice. But it was cool. And then we did some demos, and then we ended up. I think we might have done a secret gig before we went to America, or it might have been after when we came back from recording. I think it might have been before. No, we did. It was in Scotland. It was a place called Rico's in Greenock.
Right.
And it was fucking packed. And I remember being terrified. There was so many people crammed into this place. It was a secret gig, but I think whoever promoted it, they told everybody that he knew that John was going to be there doing his new band. And that was the first taste I got of what it was going to be like for the rest of it. It was just insane.
Right.
But I also got a taste of it. Well, this guy came up to the front of the stage, and he looked like Ian Brown. I mean, dressed like him, and his hair was the same, and his face was the same, and he was probably about the same height. And he came over and he goes, "You'll never be Ian Brown." But you're giving it a good go. And it's just kind of like, oh, right, maybe that's what people think. Maybe that's what people expect, is me to be another Ian Brown, which I definitely want.
So at that point, did that kind of, how did you feel about that? Was that kind of like a wee alarm bell for you?
Well, I kind of ignored it. And then because the press hadn't really seen us, I had anything to grab hold of. And, you know, comparisons people make, you know, no matter what. I felt sorry for John, because it's like no matter what he would do, people, you know, the Stone Roses was such a kind of seminal band at the time, you know, and it's like you can't do anything other than that, unfortunately. It's like Mick Jagger going off to do something. It's like no one would give a fuck.
Yeah,
it's like
all they want is a recreation of the band, don't they? They just want Stone Roses Mark II.
Yeah, which shows a huge lack of imagination. I mean, if the Stone Roses had released about 8 albums, then maybe people would have got enough of what they wanted from it. But I think the fact that, you know, the band, they'd only done 2, and, you know, John had set up this new thing, people were still wanting more Stone Roses stuff, and they weren't getting it. So I think that's kind of, I've never really thought of it like that, but that's probably one of the big reasons, really, as far as a public sort of taste and what, you know, public consumption kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They just wanted that, but we gave them something else, and it's weird. Some people, we definitely split the kind of Stone Roses fans down the middle. Whether you know, it's almost like Paul Weller and the Style Council, like we were talking about earlier. It's a plastic mud moment, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, oddly enough, we kind of, I probably got into Seahorses before the Stone Roses, because I was 97 when the album came out. I'd have been 17, so.
Oh, right, okay.
I would probably been just slightly too young for the first Stone Roses to kind of get it.
Yeah.
So Seahorses was like a big deal to me. It kind of, because you were on all that, you came out and you were like kind of the second wave of Britpop, weren't you? So.
Yeah, if there was a second wave of it. I mean, we didn't even think we were Britpop. It was weird. I mean, we were in America quite a lot because the record company was there, and I remember doing a lot of press in America. And so they'd be like, so, you know, being a Britpop band, and we were like, what, are we? And we were like, well, yeah, you're, and John was like, well, so I suppose we're British and we're popular, but we're not Britpop. You know, we're not Elastica or Shed 7 or, you know, I remember when Britpop happened because Shed 7 was from York, so it's like, you know, and Supergrass, that was Britpop. Blur, you know, Oasis, Britpop. Seahorses was, we weren't, it didn't sound like Britpop.
No, well, but I get you, but it was kind of, any kind of British band that played guitars back then was kind of, everybody was lumped together, weren't they? So
yeah, I think you were. I mean, it made it easier, and it's good now.
because you used to
I
get all
back to
those
play
compilation CDs as well, like indie anthems, and you would always get a couple of Seahorses songs on that. So
Shine
yeah,
28 or
all
whatever.
of them.
But I do a lot of. It's good now because I play a lot of kind of these Britpop extravaganza night things, which are quite good fun. It's basically an excuse for a massive piss up for a lot of people whose kids are now gone to uni or grown up or whatever, you know. They can actually have some freedom and go and listen to the bands that they used to listen to. And I've met some lovely people that actually were around about at the time, but were far too cool for Christmas to even talk to the likes of me. And I was too shy to go over and say anything. So that's been quite nice because everybody's gone sort of full circle round and everyone's grown up and all that bollocks isn't there anymore, you know, and it's quite nice just to chat to people really. So I'm doing some stuff with Mark Morris and Nigel actually from Dodgy and Mark from the Blue Tones. So we're doing this 3-piece trip, which is great. You know, Mark and Nigel, I mean, Blue Tones I saw them support Supergrass at the Duchess in Leeds when Supergrass did their first sort of tour, and then saw Dodgy when they did the first album with Staying Out for the Summer on it. They were the first decent band. It is. So, you know, I always thought Dodgy and the Blue Tones were brilliant because I love the songs, just great songwriting. And I've been sat there just before lockdown in an Airbnb, middle of nowhere, in Hereford, sitting writing songs with these two blokes who, you know, I was kind of a bit of a fanboy, if I'm honest, back then.
So what's going on with that? Is that kind of, are you writing new songs then?
Yeah, we're writing new stuff.
Right.
There's some strong stuff, actually. I think we've got about 8 tunes at the moment, and then lockdown came again, so we had to stop. But we're going to be doing some gigs coming up from, well, you never know. I mean, have a look on our gig pages. Hopefully, fingers crossed, will happen. See what the COVID situation is. But yeah, we do kind of our own stuff, and then we'll do stuff together. And we always end up doing like maybe a cover of something at the end or whatever. And it's all really good fun, you know. We pretty much figure out what we're doing on that night. But the new stuff's really lovely. It's quite hard to sort of put your finger on where it's come from, considering that we all have our certain distinct writing styles. I think it's but the 3-part harmonies work really, really well. So that's something that that's the kind of secret weapon, I think.
Cool. What are you hoping for? Is that would there be an album release or anything like that?
We'll see.
I'd imagine there'd be people would want it. People would be interested in that.
We all want to do that. This whole COVID thing's kind of knocked the shit out of it all a bit, really.
Yeah.
We had going was really cool, and then, you know, everything just came to a standstill, and it was basically people just playing on their own at home, doing like live streams or whatever. It back up now. We stay in touch, you know, talk every week, so we're kind of getting on with sorting out what we need to do next, because you got to plan so far ahead and then expect it all to just be knocked down like some Skittles, you know, because of and I think people are being really accommodating with that, you know. People buying tickets for gigs, for instance, are used to getting the refunds and stuff, and but I think this time round, I don't know, I'm really hoping that I think because people have had the vaccinations and the government they won't be putting any restrictions in. I think we'll probably just go like, well, COVID.
They're desperate to get the economy started as well, aren't they? So they'll. But we'll talk about.
It's a year now, isn't it? So it's kind of like, you know, I feel like I'm just in this weird dream world where, you know, it's actually kind of quite relaxing because you can just not commit to anything really and just go, it probably won't happen. But I do hope it does. That's got to be mad now.
Yeah, it kind of just takes. It's took a lot of the momentum out of things. That's kind of the downside, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, I was talking to someone the other day about this, about, you know, when the pubs open and stuff, and people we used to say, oh, I can't wait to get back in the pub and have a pint. Now I'm kind of like thinking, God, do you remember when we used to go into those buildings and spend like 5 times more than we usually would on a pint just to get drunk in front of people we didn't know? And it's like, you know, I'm kind of not really buying that anymore. I don't think I should do that. I'd rather stay in and finish an album off and drink adequately priced alcohol. Thank you very much. Maybe that's a tight yoke in me, I don't know.
Right, going back, I just want to touch on the Seahorses album, because there's some brilliant songs on it, and you wrote a few good songs there. So, like, Blinded by the Sun's a belter of a song. So what was the songwriting process for that? Did you kind of come with the idea?
Yeah, I was on my own. The flat that I had in Brighton was kind of a back bedroom, and then there was this corridor where the toilet was, and then there was this weird little, almost like a walk-in wardrobe type thing, which is supposed to be a bedroom, but it wasn't wide enough to get a bed in. So that's where I just sort of stuck myself. We didn't have any windows or anything like that, so it's odd that I wrote Blinded by the Sun in there. But at the front of the house, there was this big window which it'd been painted open, not painted shut. So there's this gap in it. And I think we got fed up with the curtains blowing, and we just took them down. And every morning you'd walk through and the sun would be coming through. They never cleaned the windows, so it's faced the seafront, so it was a really mucky windows, and the sun would be coming through, and it was really glaring, and you couldn't see what you were doing. And I remember smashing my shins on the coffee table more often than I'd wanted to. And then we wrote this. There was other stuff going on at the time, and I wrote that. But I was listening to a lot of Verve at the time, and a lot of John Lennon from a Plastic Ono band sort of time. And I was listening to a lot of Oasis and Paul Weller, Pulp, Tim Buckley, because my mate Simon Berkovich, he used to work in a record shop, so he had all these amazing albums. So he's got a lot to answer for as well. But yeah, it was. I remember just thinking, because I wasn't really I didn't think I was very good at writing songs. But then when I wrote that one, that's when I felt like I'd actually written something that was quite decent. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't embarrassed about it. I remember just asking people what they thought of it, like my mates. So when I finally moved back to York, I played it to my mates, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's got something about it." That. But originally, it was a bit of a stomp sort of song, a bit like the Stooges, really. Or at least I wanted it to be like the Stooges. It was nothing like the fucking Stooges, but. And then when I played it to John, well, me and Stuart were playing it one morning, and John was making himself a cup of tea with Steve Adge, and they came in whilst we were playing it, and he just went, "Oh, is that yours? Did you write that?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Oh, right, yeah, I like that one." And Steve Adge was kind of like grinning his head off. And then I think John said, "Why don't you try slowing it down a little bit?" So we did. And then I think the bit that he added was the la la la, living a lie. So I think it was just straight living a lie. There's a demo of it somewhere where I recorded it around with my mates. So Mark Atkinson, he did a demo of a lot of songs I've written in Brighton. And I think that was in there. I'm not sure if it's on there or not, actually. But yeah, it was a lot different. But, you know, we used to sort of embellish each other's songs, really. So John would have an idea, and I'd have an idea for his stuff, and that's how it kind of worked, really. But if you sort of written the bulk of the song, then it was your song. There was one point when I'd written I Want You to Know, and me and Stu had written there's a middle bit. So I'd written the chords for the whole song, I think, and then there was this middle bit, which was a bit kind of, at the time, I think we thinking of being like psychedelic and proggy, but it just sounds like Spinal Tap. So there's a big solo. And but Stu had kind of done this, and I thought it sounded cool, so I was like, yeah. So I gave him 30% on the publishing for writing this little section.
Right.
So John, basically, Stu probably brought it up with John, saying, "All right, well, Chris gave me 30% on that bit, so I wrote this bit and this bit on your songs," which he did on John's songs. And John just went ballistic and came running in. He was like, "What are you doing giving Stuart that money, publishing money for that?" And I'm like, "Well, he did write it." He's going, "Well, I'm not giving him any of mine." There's always the Blue Flies, which was the band Stuart was in before. It's basically like Stuart starts pestering him about it, then I'll fire him and have to go back to his band. That's when I realised that there was a lot more politics involved in music making and just having a laugh and drinking a few beers and being creative and coming up with stuff. Because at the end of the day, if there's kind of big sums of money involved, then these 30% actually mean something rather than not. And so that, I think that became a bit of a kind of long-standing issue as things within the band, really, which was a shame because when I was in the yard,
there were some bloody good songs on that album, and then then
I think my favourite "Standing on Your Head." I think my favourite one's "Standing on Your Head." I love that song. And, I really like that. That's a great song. It's funny now because I've been writing these lyrics out for people, and because obviously I'm not going to be doing a gig a night, you know what I mean? So I've been inflicting myself upon the poor world, watching me want to do like an online gig every night. I'm not doing that. But I know that Rick was selling lyrics, and I think Mark Morris has been doing it, and then Paul Draper from Manson's said he was going to do it. And we toured with Manson around America, and he never spoke to me once, I don't think, if I remember rightly. And I thought, if he's doing it, then I'm going to have a go. And for the laugh, I wrote it on the back of an envelope. I wrote like the lyrics for "Blinded by the Sun" really quickly, and then took a picture of it and posted it on Facebook. And pretty much kind of just wrote a similar thing to what Paul Draper had written. And then I think I got some like 50 orders in or something within 10 minutes.
Right.
And I didn't have enough paper, didn't have enough pens. I wasn't sure I was going to do it because I've not written it out in full. But I've been doing that now for about a year. And it's kept my head afloat. So if anyone's listening who's bought lyrics, I can't thank you enough because I don't really know what I'd have done. I'd have been busking again, probably. Or no, you can't busk because they won't let you. Apparently, we breathe too much as singers, so quite contagious.
So the other single, the single that came out after the album, "You Can Talk to Me," again, amazing song. It's probably my favourite Seahorses song because it came at a time. My big sister, my nephew, ended up in Children's Hospital. He pulled a pan of boiling water over his face.
Oh gosh!
And he was burned. And listen, he's all right now. He's 27. He's a wee shit, man. But at the time, he was in hospital, and he was in hospital for about 6 months, and this song came out, "You Can Talk to Me," and it was kind of like my song and my big sister at the time, so it really kind of clicked. So kind of tell us a bit about that, because it means so much to me, and whenever you look online,
I'm not going to tell you what it's about.
Oh no! I don't want to know what it's all about.
Because you've got your own meaning to it, and I don't want to stop it from being an important song to you. But I mean, you know, people. I think with that one, it's quite sort of. It's a broad message, really. I was on my own in an apartment I was with Stu Fletcher actually, but we were being a bit too. We were partying a lot. And we'd not gone to bed for a few days and started to go a bit mad. And I remember just sitting, I couldn't go to sleep. I was just sat down writing and writing and writing until I tried to write myself to sleep, and ended up writing all my thoughts out of my head, and then ended up rhyming them, and then ended up with the verses. And I'd just come off the phone to my mate Jamie in York. I was on the phone for a good long 5 hours or something, and got charged a shitload of money for that. I thought the record company would pay for that, but they didn't. And then I ended up just coming up with it, but I didn't have a chorus or anything. And then when the album, we'd done the 4 singles and stuff, John was like, "Have you got any ideas for any songs for a single? We need to sort of come up with a follow-up." And I was like, "Well, have you?" And he was like, "I'm not very funny," he says, "but we've really had time to write anything, have we?" And I was like, "Well, no, not really. But I wrote this one when I was in America that time. Do you remember what we were there doing? I think we had to do an overdub for Love Me and Leave Me, because the first line was "Don't believe in Jesus." Mm-hmm. And because the record company were the Middle Americans were going to try and assassinate if we toured around the States, because we didn't believe in Jesus. So we had to change it for American radio, and I think we ended up putting something like some sort of double irony thing, disclaimer, "Don't believe in censors." Right. What we put up instead, but yeah, so that's why we're in the States. Anyway, John, I played him what he had, and then we kind of knocked it into shape, and then he was like, "So, how come you felt like that?" And I was like, "Well, I didn't know." He goes, "You could have come and chatted to me about stuff if you were going mad like that." And I was like, "Well, we didn't think you were that approachable." And then he was like, "Well, he wrote the chorus, so there you go." And I think he was more upset about the telephone bill than he was about anything else, to be fair.
So obviously that single came out, and I think everybody was expecting another album, which I think if you check online, there was kind of an album was ready to come out, but it kind of got shelved. So did you?
Yeah, so the look of disdain on my face there about that album. I didn't like any of the songs. I didn't even like my own songs on it. Although someone asked me to play one the other day, which was a song called, what was it called? No, you see, this is it. It just doesn't really have any resonance with me at all, that album. It just felt like it was something to do rather than any depth in it, you know. You only get one crack at this, and I didn't want to be writing a load of shit when we knew that we're capable of not writing shit. You know, it's like, why are we doing this? This is just fucking rubbish. And there was a bit of a battle of wills between me and John, to the point of it was actually splitting up. There's lots of little arguments about all sorts of things, little digs here and there about stuff. There was a few personnel changes with drummers and stuff like that, and it all just kind of caved in on itself, really. Right. And we were all tired as well. We've been touring like mad. I mean, we did so much touring. It was a massive whirlwind, really. But you know, I was drinking far too much, thinking that I could take it. You know, like my little body could take all this booze every night, and it was literally every night. And I remember just thinking to myself, when was the last time that you didn't have a drink? And it was getting on for like about 3 years. Right. When I say a drink, it wasn't like a night, "I'll just go and have one beer tonight." It was a case of beer or 2 bottles of wine, you know, doing that. So I was poorly, and I didn't realise it, making myself really ill. Seeing some pictures of myself around about that time, and I'm just about 10 stone and look emaciated. And I think back now, you know, it was the only way I thought I could kind of deal with it, because that's what we used to do when I was busking around France. You couldn't sleep because you're stressing that someone's going to mug you or whatever. You just get fucked on really cheap wine and not worry about it. And that was a bit of a habit And then there's all the other stuff, obviously, that goes with it as well. And then it was like, I think I just kind of got a bit too carried away with it. And because I had money as well, which I wasn't used to having, it's like that old footballers thing, isn't it? You know, you just go off the fucking rails a bit, and no one's there to tell you what happened. And if they do, you know.
You're not interested in listening.
But yeah, so John had plenty of reasons to not want to be in a band with me, and I had enough reasons to not want to be in a band with him. There was a lot of paranoia about a lot of things. Gaslighting here and there, you know, and people trying to. It was just people batting, you know, kind of using other people against other people, and it was just really toxic. And I was glad to be out of it by the end of it. But so I think everyone's grown up a bit. Thankfully, I think, you know, if things were ever to happen again, it won't be like that at all.
Yeah, and obviously, I mean, after the split, you were still pretty close with Stuart Fletcher, weren't you? Still am.
He still plays bass. We plays on a lot of my stuff. Mostly it's Stu, because he's fucking amazing. He's just head full of magic. Stuart. Yeah, he's a great bass player. It's just, that's what he does. You know, he plays bass and he's very, 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 very good at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a brilliant musician. He's great to have in a room as well with other musicians, because, you know, he's always listening all the time, and if anyone's playing a bit out, he's kind of like almost like a musical director in some respects, because he doesn't have to pull people up if they fuck up, including me sometimes as well, you know. And she's like, but, you know, I need to be told if I'm shit. But he's very professional, really gets on with it, and that's why he's in about 10 different bands actually. So he's always busy doing something.
So obviously you split, and then you had the Yards, and then you've done your solo stuff, the Rookery, the things like that, and now you've got the Mark Morris, Nigel Clark stuff as well. So
there's that, and there's also I've been writing this album for 7 years and recorded it. Then I lost the files for a couple of years because my file on computers are dreadful. My laptop died and didn't realise you can retrieve stuff from laptops, and also they were just scattered all over loads of different hard drives. It's a really boring story, but I found them all in the end. And I'd spent a few getting strings done and stuff, so it was quite upsetting, thinking I'd lost it all, and then I found them again. Just because I wasn't searching for the right fucking thing, really. And then, so that kind of listening back to that after not listening to it for a couple of years, it was like listening to another band, and I really enjoyed what I heard. And people that I did the Rookery with, and Chris Farrell, Christian on double bass, Stuart on electric bass, Sam Forrest, John Hargreaves doing the strings and keys, and Geth on drums. And yeah, it's nice to listen to it. But the thing is, it's just, there's always been something in the way for me to not get it out. And I've been doing a lot of gigs, and a lot of the gigs, you know, I'm not saying I play just Seahorses stuff. I don't. I play, it's probably a good lump of Seahorses stuff, but then there's other stuff that I do as well. I think I would start wondering about the songs that I write and the ones I've recorded. The sounds, they would really transpose really well in a theatre where everyone sat down and shutting the fuck up. But if you're playing in supporting Shed 7 at the Barrowlands, you know, there's no chance you're going to get to play any of them songs. No. It's just not going to happen. So, or even, you know, anywhere in Glasgow. If it's in a, it's like not like 110 beats per minute, you're fucked. So it's yeah, it was there are a lot of Ed games I've been playing with myself with that one, and it's like kind of, it's still there. It's still as unfashionable as it was when I first wrote it. So I think I should be all right for another good 10 years.
But obviously, I mean, it's kind of about your peace of mind. If you need to get that album out to say that you've done that, then that's what you need to do. Like,
yeah, I mean, to be fair, all I need to do, I need to sit down with it for a week, and then it's done, and I can do it, and I'm gonna do it. I've just been doing other things like writing lyrics out for people. God, I don't mind. It's good. I must have written like. Honestly, I wouldn't like to say how many Blinded by the Suns and Love is the Laws and You Can Talk to Me and Boy the Pictures I've written. But I close my eyes sometimes and that's all I can see. But I don't mind doing it. And but yeah, I don't get much time to do anything else. I've been writing with a few people as well recently, which has been nice, just different people, which is something that I like, writing bits of stuff, getting it to a point where it's like, oh yeah, that's really good, and then giving it to someone else who then they'll kind of build on it. I'm all right with coming up with the initial seeds, I think, but I'd like someone else to kind of, fertilize it. Oh God, that's a dreadful.
So, before we go, I ask all my guests to do pick 4 heroes to come to a dinner party. And I know you were stressing about this for the start.
I'm not stressing about it. There's worse things to stress about. I'll tell you what, I've got it. Okay, right. Neil Young, because we nearly toured with Neil Young.
The Seahorses, that would be class,
well, he's my hero. He's like, I fucking love Neil Young, and yeah, we got the tour to support him in Germany, but then he cut his finger cutting a sandwich or something, and the whole tour was cancelled because he couldn't play guitar. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, one minute, one day I'm like jumping out of my own skin just with joy about the whole thing. And then the next it's been cancelled. But then Simon Moran, in his own sort of dry way, just went, but it's not all bad. We can support the Stone Roses if you want. Sorry, not Stone Roses. Oh God, Freudian slip. Rolling Stones if you want. I was like, oh. I was still disappointed because I wanted it to be Neil Young. And I was like, yeah, okay. And part of me was going, well, I've not written anything of any consequence for years, have they really? And it's like, God, you spoiled bastards. And we toured with them. We did quite a lot of gigs with them. I think we did about 4 or 5 or something. Mm-hmm. Can't remember now, but it's funny because they charged us. We had to go, if we wanted to watch them play, we had to pay, I think it was €90 to watch them.
Even though you were supporting them?
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
Yeah, that's why they're multi.
And did you pay it though?
No, I'd refused actually. It's like, I'm not doing it. I've seen you before anyway, so it doesn't matter. So it was an experience, but it's crazy old world and all that. And that's when it gets a little bit too big and you create a monster that you're not in control of your own life anymore, are you? When you something that big.
Yeah. So we've got Neil Young.
Oh yeah, sorry, Neil Young. Sorry. And Johnny Cash. I reckon Johnny Cash would be pretty cool at a dinner table because he used to invite people around that he liked, didn't he, to have dinner at his house in his latter years. He did invite Bono around a few times, which was maybe not the best judge of character. And then we've got, who else? Nick Cave.
Right.
And Bill Withers, if he was still with us. He isn't. I'd say Bill Withers, and I'd make him soup. I'm very good at making soup. I've got good at making soup.
And how have you got good at making soup? Have you got good during lockdown, or have you been an expert on this for a while?
No, it's a lockdown thing. No matter what I put in it always tastes the same. I just put loads of chilies and cayenne pepper in it, and Chinese 5 spice or Japanese 7 spice. You can get hold of it. But there's a grocer's around the shop. It's like an old school little grocery shop, and they sell pretty much any vegetable that's ever been created ever. And I've been pretty experimental with the veg and stuff that I put in, but every time I make it, it just tastes the same. So But it's rather spectacular. And I think if they were only to have it that once, they'd always remember it.
Yeah. I read it's a good bunch of people as well. I think they would all get on with one another.
I think so. I like the fact that they're all had really incredible careers. But especially Bill Withers. There's a film called Still Bill. And if you watch that, you just fall in love with him. He's such a lovely bloke. He's definitely really grounded, and he just cares so much about his family and his community and everything. He's such a dude. And then you got Johnny Cash, obviously, who's still, sadly he's not here, is he? And he just what he's been through.
Yeah.
And then Nick Cave as well. I mean, he's been through an awful lot as well. And Neil Young, he was with his wife Peggy for fucking years. It must have been over 50 years, I think. And then he decided that he was going to get a divorce and go out with Daryl Hannah. I mean, he must have just gone like, I can't have long left. So I've always fancied that bird from Splash. I think I'm just going to have a bit of a go on that for a bit. So yeah, but I think Neil Young would be great as well. And I wish I'd met him. I bet Prince would be quite funny though.
Yeah.
If he was still alive. I'd have to get some cushions on his chair.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm pretty sure I've seen a video of Neil Young playing at Central Station in Glasgow, like a mad black and white one. It's like I've watched it a few times on YouTube. It's brilliant.
When was it done?
It must have been the late 60s, I would say.
All right, okay. Yeah.
It's in black and white. I'll try and look at it and I'll forward it on to you.
Yeah. It's just remarkable. I mean, the thing is now, even when he's this age, he doesn't sound any different than he did.
Yeah.
They still sing Old Man and all that, and Heart of Gold, and it sounds like he did back then. It's like, wow. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't sound much like I did. My voice has changed a bit. I don't say it sounds changed drastically, but it's definitely got different with age. But Neil Young's just sounds like Mickey Mouse, like he always has done.
Mm.
What's the matter with you, Pluto?
See, like his Glastonbury a few years ago, I thought he smashed that, didn't he? I thought he's a brilliant headliner.
I've seen some DVDs with him, and they all love behind the scenes stuff. And he's got his crew that worked with him since back in the day, since Buffalo Springfield days and stuff. And it's like, everybody that he works with, they love him, they trust him. Yeah, he's the boss, but he treats them well, and they treat him well, and it's like his big family. Apparently, when you go on tour with him, he does do these dinners where it's like a big long table, and the support band and the crew and everybody all eat together, and everybody just gets on like a big family, and that's how it should be, rather than this whole competition-based us and them horrible nonsense, which seemed to be very prevalent in the 90s with Britpop bands. But Neil Young's a dude.
Yeah.
I wonder if Nick Cave would actually be really funny. I reckon he'd still be wearing a big white shirt with big white collars and enviable tailored suit, what I'd never fit in at all. Yeah.
Yeah, big handsome guy, isn't he?
Well, yeah. He's an interesting guy. I've seen a lot of podcasts and videos and interviews with him over the years, and he's fascinating. He just knows exactly what he wants, who he is. He don't give a fuck about what anyone thinks, and he's really creative. He's written countless books, never mind albums, made films, done film soundtracks, does poetry. He's got a great merch site as well.
Right.
If you go on it, I think it's only since lockdown that he's put it up, because obviously his tours would have been cancelled. He used to tour all the time. He's got some really good stuff on there. I think it's called Cave Stuff or something like that.
Yeah, I'll have a wee look at that as well. It's always nice to I like to get kind of merch that's kind of different for anything else. I might got to see Embrace once a couple of years ago, and they were selling tea towels at their gigs.
Yeah, well, Nick Cave does tea towels as well.
Yeah.
You know those little jackets that you put on your dog as well, to keep your dog warm? He does them, but on the chest bit there it says, "Suck my dick," I think. And he's like, oh my God. But yeah, I'm sure he does all right with his merch. Yeah. Another good one would have been Leonard Cohen. I really like Leonard Cohen as well, but I don't know, maybe it'd just be far too intellectual for me, and I'd just not say a word and cower into my own insignificance.
Well, that's us. You're picked 4 plus you're trying to chuck in Prince and Leonard Cohen as well. But thank you very much for coming on, Chris.
No worries at all.
Pleasure to have you.
Cheers for having us. Yeah, it's nice. You don't get to talk to many people these days, really. So it's good to talk.
Yeah.
Now.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.
Cold wind